Do you know what this bell is for? This is a wake up call for all the leaders of this planet. The world is shifting at lightning speed. Generations are colliding in values and expectations. Technology is rewriting the script. Stress, burnout, anxiety, uncertainty is the message of the day. So, in this storm, the question is not whether it will hit you, it is how prepared will you be when it does. Will you panic, or will you be the leader who converts the pressure into possibilities? This is why we have created a superconscious leader. This is the greatest opportunity in leadership history if you can lead with clarity, with courage, and with superconsciousness. So, here on this show, we do not just prepare you to survive, we prepare you to thrive and rise above the disruption and use it as an advantage. Remember, in the age of AI, you do not need to be superhuman. You just need to be super conscious. Welcome to a super conscious leader. I am Dr. Adil Dalal. You're watching Now Media Television. So today we have an amazing show. I am your host, Dr. Adil Dalal, and I will be your guide through this journey to the pinnacle of your leadership excellence. And today's guest will take you to a whole different area. Okay, we have with us Mr. Bruce Merrin, or you call him Mr. Las Vegas. Welcome to the show.
Oh, it's such an honor, Dr. Adil. And yes, I'm right here in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital. And imagine, I moved here in 1956. So I love this city, and it's an honor, a total honor.
Wonderful. So the honor is mine, Bruce. You're my friend, and I really, truly value what you bring to this planet. For so people who don't know him, okay, you are going to be totally amazed at his background. Bruce is a military veteran. He has spent 5 decades connecting leaders, connecting sports personalities, connecting celebrities. So let me give you a list of the people he has worked with. Okay, please hold on. Okay, sit in your seats because I'm going to list all the people he's worked with. Okay, Johnny Carson, Muhammad Ali, Elvis Presley. Okay, Robin Williams. um, from the sports world, Muhammad Ali, Jackie Robinson, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. Um, from the business world, he has worked with Bill Gates. He's worked with Steve Jobs. He's worked with Richard Branson. He's worked with all the U.S. presidents since Ronald Reagan. Wow. And basically, he's worked with almost all Fortune 100 companies from Walmart to Apple to Amazon, you name it, and he's done it all. And most important, Bruce, you have been a military veteran. So thank you for your service. It means a lot. Your 5 decades of this, on this planet have been a blessing for all. So thank you. And I really am very honored to have you on my show. So, Bruce, I am going to start off with a very difficult question for you.
Yes.
I see stardust all around you. You have touched all these celebrities, and you work in the stars. What made you, kind of want to represent an ordinary mortal like me on this planet?
Well, first of all, I have a tagline that I've used for probably 4 decades. This is thanks to Dr. Waye Dyer, who is
Hmm.
my client, and I probably booked him more than 50 times. And
Wow.
the tagline is impact lives. You have the gift worldwide of impacting lives. And I like to work with clients, whether they're sports stars or celebrities, people that can impact lives. You have that gift. It's a golden treasure, and you have that gift. So God bless you. I love the ability to work with you, because when you go in front of an audience, you impact all the lives of the people in the audience. So to answer your question, that's why you have that gift to impact lives. That's what I look for when I'm working with clients, no matter what different spectrum it may be.
Thank you, Bruce. This means a lot to me. And again, I'm truly honored to have you as my agent and representing me. Uh, Bruce, let's go back to your childhood. Your dad was the president of Flamingo Hotel in Vegas. Your
Yes.
mom came from the MGM family. What are some values they have inculcated in you which have taken you this far?
Yeah, I am blessed beyond words. Certainly my dad and my mom both together. But my mom, if I picked one person that influenced my life more than anybody, it was absolutely my mom. And she was considered, Dr. Adil, a real pioneer in the public relations
Wow.
entertainment area. When she started her PR firm at a movie studio, it was called General Service Movie Studios in Hollywood. She was one of only two women that had a Hollywood entertainment PR firm. And she represented the biggest name stars like Joan Crawford. So everything that I've really learned in this business really starts with my mom, and all the ideas. When you listed so many of those wonderful people at the beginning, Jackie Robinson, Muhammad Ali, Johnny Carson, Michael Landon, I met all of them thanks to my mom. So
Wow.
it's the gift from heaven. I thank God every day for my mom.
That is such a beautiful story, and how parents, this is the legacy they've left with you. Uh, so you're blessed, definitely. Um, so I think when you met Johnny Carson at his Malibu residence in, I think, 1973, he is the one who led you into this business when you and Michael Landon were there, and he encouraged you. Can you tell me how that moment felt, and what happened after that when he
Yes,
mentioned
no,
that you
it's a
have
great
to?
question, because really that was the biggest turning point in my entire life. I had been doing PR, and by the way, we were fortunate to handle the PR for Simon and Schuster, the book publisher,
Okay.
and that's how I initially met Johnny Carson, because on his
Mm.
show, at the end of every show, he'd have an author. And because we were dealing with the biggest book publisher in the world, Simon and Schuster, I was at the Johnny Carson show all the time. So in answer to your question, I had booked Michael Landon on the Johnny Carson show, and
Okay.
Michael was one of the favorite guests of Johnny Carson. After that guesting, Johnny comes backstage and he met with me and Michael Landon, and he says, "Guys, how would you guys like to come to my home in Malibu? I'd like to invite you guys to dinner." Now, at the
Wow.
time, I'm a pretty young kid. At the time, I said, "Michael, let's go." So we drove to Malibu. He has this beautiful home right on the water, on the ocean, and he happens to like, Johnny likes Cabernet Sauvignon. So he got out a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon. He poured it in a crystal wine glass, and he toasted Michael and I. He says, "Bruce, I've got a great idea." This is Johnny Carson talking.
Mm.
He said, "I think you should start a celebrity speakers bureau." And I said, "Well,
Wow.
Johnny, it's a good idea, because we do PR." So Johnny says to me, and he smiles, he says, "Listen, I'm going to make it really easy. I'm going to be your very first client." And then Michael Landon says, "Bruce, I'm going to be your second client." And then Ed
Wow.
McMahon called me the next day. He says, "Hey, I hear that you're starting a celebrity speakers bureau." And Dr. Adil, this is 52 years ago.
Oh my
That's how
God.
it all began.
Wow. It's, I think it's surreal. It's surreal, when you talk about this, because Johnny Carson is the king of late night. All the ones who are following today are in his shoes. So, what
I
a blessed,
totally, and he's
what
the
a blessed
genius. I don't use
experience.
that word very much. I would also use it with Robin Williams, who I,
Yeah.
I worked with. But
Oh,
thanks to them, so then the next month, I got to meet Muhammad Ali. You had mentioned
wow.
Muhammad Ali and
Yeah.
Jackie Robinson. So I was able to tell them, "Guys, I just started this new celebrity speakers bureau. If you guys would consider being my first sports clients." And Ali, he had the biggest smile, because I told him, Dr. Adil, I said, "Ali, I was born in Louisville, just like you." So they were my first two sports clients. And the way it works in our business is, I booked both of them for a very big engagement at Bank of America in Los Angeles. Again, this is 52 years ago.
Wow.
So that's how it all began.
Beautiful. Wow. I mean, it's just, I'm starstruck right now. And I think my
Thank you.
audience will be too. So, Bruce, what was your first, I think you represented Elvis during his Elvis on the Tour movie, right?
Yes,
So,
and you were so right. And again, look how many times I'm going to mention my mom. What happened was my mom, when I was in high school, said, Bruce, I think the UCLA Film School would be great. What do you think? I said, Mom, I love the idea. So I graduated the UCLA Film School, the most amazing experience. Then Mom comes to me and says, Bruce, why don't you think about going for a job at MGM Studios, the most famous movie studio in the world? So I said, Mom, it's a great idea. I interviewed, and the next week I was working at MGM, Dr. Ideal, the most
wow.
famous movie studio in the world, and my job was in the Thalberg building. That's the most prestigious movie building at the whole entire studio. So what happened was my office was right next to the president of MGM. And
Wow.
he came in, he was so nice. He always liked to welcome the new executives. So he came into my office. He says, Bruce, we have a new film, a new movie that's out called Elvis on Tour. Would you consider having lunch with Elvis Presley in the commissary? So he says, would you
Oh,
consider? I said, he's my most favorite entertainer in the world. And I told him all the song. So I went into the commissary. I did meet Elvis Presley. I sat down and I said to Elvis, Dr. Ideal, we're going to really get along, Elvis. Both of us are mama's boys. Because,
wow.
he was known for being a big mama's boy. So Elvis loved that. So at MGM, and by the way, this is a really good film. People can still get it on Netflix. It's called Elvis on Tour. Really good film. So I started handling the PR internally at
Wow.
MGM Studios, and he was just an angel to work with, Dr. Ideal. One
Wow.
of the nicest, most generous, humble people that I have ever met in my life. I think, you and I are both spiritual beings. His spirituality, I think, really played a big part there because, as you know, he
Yeah.
grew up with spirituality in his heart. And he told me, and this is really interesting, one time, early when I met him, he says, Bruce, everybody loves my rock and roll, and I take great pride in it, but I'm really proud of my gospel albums. He says,
Wow.
that's my heart. The gospel albums are my roots. So I always remember that Elvis had shared that. So
Oh,
I was
wow.
blessed beyond words to be working with the king.
Wow. I did not know this, Bruce. That is special. And that's where the spirit comes from. I think what your mom left with you and probably what his mom left with him. I think there is another story which joins you both. And you were drafted, right? In this, when was it? In the 60s?
Yes,
You were
yes, I
drafted.
was. I
Uh,
was a junior at UCLA in the film school, which I had mentioned
right.
earlier. And back at that time, maybe I was a little naive, but they had been telling us in college, you should take 15 units each semester, otherwise you could be drafted. So long
Right.
story short, I was drafted at the end of my junior year, and I spent 1 year in Washington, D.C. I was the editor of Army News Features. Then I went to Vietnam in
Wow.
1968, and I was the editor of the MP Brigade paper. But of course, the heartbreaking story that I did endure, and I'll never forget it, Dr. Ideal, it was in April of 1968. We were in a military police car,
Right.
and I was behind the machine gun. It's hard to think about it now, but I was behind the machine gun, and it was a beautiful place in Vietnam. It's a gorgeous country. So I said to our driver, the MP, can we stop and get a photo? We stopped the Jeep, we got a photo, and my friend who was sitting next to me, he was seated. He said, Bruce, I think it's my turn. Let me man the machine gun. So the driver, the MP, started driving. 5 minutes later, a VC sniper started shooting, and my best friend slumped into my arms and my lap, and he died in my arms. He died in my arms. One of the saddest incidents
Oh
that
my
I've
God.
ever gone through, Dr. Adil. And I told the driver, I said, go as fast as you can. I don't know if they're going to chase after us, but they were snipers.
Oh my
So we
God.
got to an MP outlet, And people used to see on TV, they had these green body bags that if somebody was killed. So some people started putting them in the bag. I slumped down on the body bag and I cried like I had never cried before. And I wept and wept because my friend, unfortunately, that was his last breath, with me. And you're a brilliant guy, and I know you can identify with this. There's always that called that why me syndrome, why me? Because if we had not switched, in other words, I was behind the machine gun, it would have been me that would have been killed. So anyway, it's an incident that I'll never forget. But I certainly had some amazing experiences while I was there in Vietnam.
Wow. This is what I tell people, Bruce. We're all in a straight line waiting to go. We just don't know what our number is. You cannot cut in line. You cannot do anything. This is how it is. Just imagine, visualize yourself standing in a line and people going up. So maybe his number was up and you had to go back. You were way back in the line. But he left something with you. He left a legacy with you, left this with you. Maybe, it was a divine intervention. Angels didn't want you to go at this time because
you
you
so
had
right,
work.
and you're right.
You
And
had
I
work
met with
left
the
to do here.
general. Yes, no, you were right. And I met with the general, the entire MP brigade that next day. And, obviously I was crying and weeping. And he said, Bruce, let this be. And you had mentioned legacy. He said, let this be a legacy for you. You went through this sad incident for the rest of your life, dedicated all the positive things in your life. Let that be your legacy, that you're dedicating all the positive things to your friend.
Wow.
So, obviously that's something that I've never, ever forgotten. So I appreciate your mentioning that. And 56,000 young men and women died in Vietnam. So it was a tragedy.
It is, and thank God you're safe and you're here with us, and we're truly blessed with that. So, folks, I mean, what a segment! What a segment! I cannot, really even describe, just the start of this. So, don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back with Mr. Las Vegas, Bruce Merrin. You will be hearing some amazing stories of celebrities and his personal experiences with the stars in the sky. Thank you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Imagine partnering with a firm that fuses lean precision with AI foresight, turning every process into a profit engine built on the foundation of operational excellence. Hi, I am Dr. Adil Dalal, founder and CEO of Pinnacle Process Solutions. For 20 years, we have empowered over 9,500 leaders across 25 industries and 5 continents and delivered savings from $1 million to $39 million via rapid transformations using AI, digital tools, lean, agile, and Six Sigma technologies. Through our award-winning workshops, lean AI frameworks, and human-centric coaching, we elevate culture, eliminate waste, and ignite sustainable operational excellence. Elevate your people, accelerate your performance. Visit pinnacleprocess.com and reach your pinnacle today. And we're back. Let's continue this powerful conversation. Welcome back to the Superconscious Leader. This is one of the best shows I have done so far, and we have Mr. Las Vegas, Bruce Merrin here, and he has worked with so many celebrities. It is truly amazing, but he also is the person who I've seen who has humanity, humility, and connections beyond what you can see. So, Bruce, let's start off with a very important question: is which celebrity has made the most impact on your life? Which you have worked with, obviously.
No, that's a great question. And obviously, There are dozens and dozens, but I would say at the top of my list would be Robin Williams, because as you know, I used to go to the Johnny Carson show. I probably went over 500 times, and I got to meet all of the celebrities from A to Z. But Robin just was an absolute genius, and he became a really good friend, and I met him many times. So after one show when he was there, he got Carson and the audience hysterical because he just was so amazing. So I met him backstage, and I said, Robin, would I be able to book you for corporate events? I said, we specialize in corporate events. Would you consider allowing me? He says, Bruce, if you can get me a corporate event, let me know.
Wow.
So sure enough, a week later, I get, I believe that it was Bank of America, but they gave me a caveat. They said, would Robin Williams consider come to our big audience, about 5,000 people in the audience, but would he consider coming dressed up as Mrs. Doubtfire? So I said, well, listen, I'll ask Robin, but I don't know. I don't know what the odds are. So I called up Robin's. He was laughing. Robin Williams was laughing. He says, hey, I think that's a great idea. So what happened, he got dressed up in the gear of Mrs. Doubtfire, and the announcer with a great voice says, I've got a very special guest for everybody. And 5,000 people are there, and Robin comes out as Mrs. Doubtfire. They knew immediately that it was Robin Williams, and he's so amazing with the audience, and he did all the funny stuff with Doubtfire. Then he takes off some of the clothing, and he did a stand-up comedy routine. It's one of the most funny stand-up comedy routines that I've ever seen. So when you mentioned that question, he was the first one that came to my mind, because not only was I a big fan, not only as a stand-up comedian, but his films were some of the best films that I've ever seen. So that came to mind immediately, Dr. Adil, and he was a wonderful person to deal with.
He is a story which, I talk about, Bruce. I talk a lot about stress. I'm really worried about the level of stress, anxiety in this planet. It's rising by the day. And I've worked, as you know, I've worked across 5 continents. And I truly believe that it is a hidden pandemic, stress. And I think, Robin Williams' story, on the face, he was always smiling. But inside, what was happening to him, we really didn't know.
Dr. Adil, you're so right. The demons, I had many private talks with him. And, stand-up comedians, they do, a lot of them, not all of them, but tend to be bipolar. And he talked to me in private about some of his demons. And despite the demons, obviously, when he was on camera, whether it was a film or doing his wonderful stand-up, he was a genius. But when the cameras weren't rolling, he certainly had demons that he did, he worked with. But he's had so many films. But Dead Poets Society, because I know you're into emotions, Dead Poets Society,
it was an amazing movie.
Most emotional films that I've ever seen. So, but no, you're so right. Those demons are very tough things to deal with.
And you truly, when you call him a genius, he truly was a genius, and he's changed many lives. So thank you for bringing him up.
And one other thing, if I could add, because again, I'm so blessed. I'm blessed by God. But Michael Landon would be another one that I would mention to you. And again, it's interesting. Here comes my mom again. We were at General Service Studio, where Mom had her office at the movie studio. Right. And she said to me, Bruce, I hear that Michael Landon is shooting a scene here at General Service Studio. Maybe if you want, go in and meet him. And all the people at the studio, they knew me. So I went up to the sound stage, and they let me right in. So anyway, Michael Landon did his scene. He ended it. And I went up to him, and I said, Mr. Landon, Bonanza was my favorite TV show ever. I never missed an episode. Here's my business card, Mr. Landon. If you consider meeting me for lunch, I would be so honored.
Wow.
So a month later, he calls me. He says, Bruce, let's have lunch. And Dr. Adil, this is one of the most amazing things. I get chills thinking about it. We're having lunch, and Michael says to me, Bruce, I'm working on this new project. I'm very excited. It's a project called Little House on the Prairie. That was at my first meeting with him.
Wow.
That's how I started working, with Michael. But on the other side, on the sad side, as many people know, he had pancreatic cancer.
Oh, man.
And he died at only 54 years old. And I was with him during that whole, episode where he was dealing with pancreatic cancer. Dr. Deal, the saddest call that I ever got, ever in my 52 years, Michael calls me up. He says, he tells me I've just been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And Michael, I feel terrible. But he says, Bruce, call Johnny. I need to get on the show. It's going to be my final appearance. And, I just was devastated. So I was there, one of the most watched TV episodes ever on Johnny Carson. And after he guested with Johnny, it was amazing. We had a three-way hug back in the dressing room, after that. But here's the sad part, Dr. Deal. 3 months after his call to me, sadly, he went to heaven. 3 months. So while he was one of the most amazing people that I've ever dealt with, it really broke my heart that somebody so talented did go to heaven so early in his life.
He truly was a legend, and I think the work he has done is I mean, even today people talk about him, and this is what legacies are built on, right? I mean, he truly touched.
I agree. And last thing about Michael, his last show was called Highway to Heaven, and it was about angels.
Right.
And it was a really good show. He was very proud. So I have worked with his eldest daughter, Cheryl Landon, 40 years. I gave her the nickname Angel way back when Highway to Heaven was going up. I said, your dad is doing Highway to Heaven. Can I call you Angel? She said, Bruce, I love it. So anyway, he was just an amazing man. So handsome, Dr. Adil.
Yeah, I know. He truly... Bruce, I don't know if you know, I have two macaws. One of them is a red, beautiful scarlet macaw, and I named an Angel. I rescued him.
No,
and his name is Angel,
it.
so that name is very special to me too. So.
Oh, that is wonderful! I love that story. That's an amazing story. Thank you.
So I know you've had some awesome celebrities. Are there some bad experiences too, which you had, and if you don't want to name names, that's fine. But your experiences would be very helpful.
This flashed into my mind. As you know, we booked a lot of famous people in different areas. The astronauts were always really, really, really popular. Now, back in the early days of my bureau, there was a movie called The Right Stuff, which a very popular movie, and it was about the first 7 astronauts, and it was a great movie. Anyway, Scott Carpenter, I can talk about it now. There's I'll fill you in. Scott Carpenter was one of the original 7. So I booked him for McDonnell Douglas, the very big aircraft company. It was their annual meeting, and it was in Florida. And they said, Bruce, we want you to fly in. We want you to be with Scott Carpenter on the dais. And you're a great speaker. When you're on the dais, you're about ready to be introduced.
Yeah.
So I was sitting next to him, and I'm letting you know because this is part of the story. I smelled alcohol on his breath. I smelled it, okay? So anyway, the president of McDonnell Douglas, imagine, the president of McDonnell Douglas introduces him with this beautiful introduction, and Scott Carpenter, please come to the microphone. He literally, Dr. Adil, he stumbled. He stumbled to the podium, and literally he didn't get 1 minute into his talk, and sadly, in the most graceful way, they said, we think you better sit down. So that was the most embarrassing speaking engagement I ever done because people had flown in all around the world. This was one of the most famous astronauts in history. So we talked after the engagement, and I said to them, I said, guys, I feel terrible. We should return all the money. He says, Bruce, it's not the money. Talk to Scott. He needs to get help. And he wound up, he wrote a book about it. He was a recovering alcoholic after that, but he actually wrote a book about his alcoholism. And that incident that day was one of the things that triggered it because, he was an amazing astronaut.
Yeah.
Just think of the physical things you've got to do to be an astronaut. So that was one of the things that triggered him to say he's got to get some help. So, but yes, that was definitely the most embarrassing thing for me. I'll never forget it.
No, and Bruce, you represent so many speakers. You know that I've had the honor to open conference at the House of Lords, been invited by the Saudi government. I've spoken in front of the royal family in UAE. I've been very lucky to speak, in Malaysia with Dr. Deepak Chopra, and I was the opening speaker for the Napoleon Hill
The
conference.
legend. Yeah, you spoke with, yeah.
Every time I'm on there, I think it's a privilege and it's an honor and it's something you have to give back to the audience. You're not there for yourself. You're always there for the audience.
I
And
totally
that
agree.
is how
And that's
I
why,
believe
yes,
it's a give
yes,
back. It's a give back. And I think that passion should show that you really care. And that is, it's a big responsibility when you're on stage, especially,
yes. And
and
that's
speaking
why I
of such
said
a.
earlier, you impact lives. Every time you're on stage, Dubai, I mean, you name it, Singapore, you impact the lives of the
Thank
people
you.
in that audience. And you take it very
I do
seriously
take it
and in a very
seriously.
humble, beautiful way. And I admire that. But obviously, in this case with Scott Carpenter, it's a shame. Alcoholism is not a pretty
I
thing.
know.
But
Yeah.
fortunately, that terrible incident did impact his life where he finally, recovered. And he fortunately, he never went back, which was good.
Wow. That is,
Yeah.
that's a positive spin to his end. Probably this incident opened some doors for him. So hopefully awareness came in. So that's very good. Thank you, Bruce.
Yes.
Folks, uh, another amazing segment comes to an end. Bruce, thank you very much for sharing these insightful, never before heard stories, which really my audience is going to really love. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with a super conscious leader. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Imagine partnering with a firm that fuses lean precision with AI foresight, turning every process into a profit engine built on the foundation of operational excellence. Hi, I am Dr. Adil Dalal, founder and CEO of Pinnacle Process Solutions. For 20 years, we have empowered over 9,500 leaders across 25 industries and 5 continents and delivered savings from $1 million to $39 million via rapid transformations using AI, digital tools, lean, agile, and Six Sigma technologies. Through our award-winning workshops, Lean AI frameworks, and human-centric coaching, we elevate culture, eliminate waste, and ignite sustainable operational excellence. Elevate your people, accelerate your performance. Visit pinnacleprocess.com and reach your pinnacle today. And we're back. Let's continue this powerful conversation. Okay, we're back with a super conscious leader. Do not miss a single moment of the show or any other Now Media shows. And if you want to catch it on the go, you can download the Roku or Apple app and watch the Now Media TV shows. Also, you can on the go watch it or listen to it on Spotify and other podcast stations. So, from breaking news to lifestyle, culture, and everything in between, Now Media is ready whenever you are. So, welcome back, Bruce. We are truly
Thank you.
honored to have you on the show. We're starting with the next segment. Here, we're going to go a little deeper into some traits of what you have observed behind the scenes, from the US presidents you have worked with to some of the amazing lives you have touched. So, first question, you've worked with every president since Ronald Reagan. Could you tell me a little bit about what is that trait in them which, after the cameras are shut off, what comes out as the real human being behind these
Yeah,
amazing
that's a great,
personalities?
great, great question. And since we did mention Ronald Reagan, I must say, because I booked all the past presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan, he was the most charismatic, kind, gentle, humble man that I've ever met, and the best sense of humor. President Reagan was
No.
amazing, but it was an amazing experience for me because since I had never worked with a president before, when I did work with President Reagan, he had a beautiful office in Century City in California.
Hmm.
And the first time I met him, he says, Bruce, let me take you to lunch. So we went out to lunch with him, and for the first time, Secret Servicemen. You know, he was surrounded with the Secret Servicemen. So the first thing I see, we're getting in the elevator, and I see the guns in the holsters, you know, of the Secret Servicemen. But way more important than that, he really cared. Every time that I booked President Reagan, it wasn't just going out and doing a cookie cutter talk. He custom designed his talk to whoever the audience was. And what really helped him, because you're a great speaker, so you understand, he had such a wonderful sense of humor. To use that movie line in Tom Cruise, he had me at hello. You know, when he would go out there, he'd have the audience at hello. So all the past presidents were great, and, you know, I loved them all, but President Reagan would be my favorite. I do have a great story to share with you about
Sure,
President
please go ahead.
Ford. Yeah, I'd love to share that. I booked President Ford for a big event here in Las Vegas, and he was wonderful. It was a star-studded event. We had Rich Little and a lot of other really well-known people. But anyway, when President Ford was introduced, they gave him a big standing ovation, and he gave a great talk. Again, humble, nice, and, you know, he was a great athlete at the University of Michigan. So he told some wonderful stories. So at the end of his talk, big standing ovation, and I was mentioning Secret Service. The Secret Service guys stormed onto the stage, and they were ready to whisk him away into the limousine. President Ford, being the nice gentleman that he was, he held his hand up in the air. He says, guys, I think these nice people out here in the audience have some questions they'd like to ask.
Wow.
Dr. Adil, he stayed there for 30 minutes answering questions and doing a beautiful job. And again, if it was just the money, he could have gone into the limousine and said, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
He really cared enough to be there for the audience. And that really impressed me because even though he was a past president, he still had in his heart that he knew that he had some people that wanted to talk with him. So anyway, that was something that really impressed me a lot with President Ford.
And that is such a special quality. As I said, it is a responsibility when you're interacting with people. You are touching their lives and you want to leave some good impression. It's like, you know, every time, the way I look at it, every time you meet someone, you're putting in a coin in the jar. It's an investment. You have to put those coins in there when it's full. If you ever need anything, only when you have put in something, you can request it back. Otherwise,
I totally agree. And one other wonderful memory with President Ford, as you know, he was from Michigan. General Motors in Michigan booked him with me, and I did fly to Detroit, and he did a great job there with General Motors. But I always love the fact when the speakers have it in their heart that they want to make an impact with that audience, and they're not just there for the money. As you know, sure, some of these speakers make very good money, but with President Ford as an example, it was way more important than, you know, just a payday. So that always really impressed me a lot.
what an amazing experience and amazing story. Thank you for sharing that, Bruce. Let's move on a little bit to, you work with all these great personalities, great leaders. What is that one trait which you have seen across the board which puts them apart from the regular people?
Well, I just flashed on Muhammad Ali when you were mentioning that. And one thing that I would say is charisma, because when people are speaking on the stage, if they have charisma, it goes a long way to connecting. You know, you're a great speaker. Once you are on the stage and you connect with the audience, then you've got them. So I flashed on Muhammad Ali because the first time I met him, I was already a big fan of him as a boxer, but he was so charismatic and his face just lit up. And when he talked to me, there was like a glow. So I think charisma is a really important element because, again, if you're a public speaker, you know, the public is out there, you know, they're out there looking at you. And if you come on the stage and you do have the charisma, it's a wonderful thing in attracting the audience. The other thing, and Ali had this as well, is a sense of humor.
Yes.
I mean, God, his sense of humor was unbelievable. He'd do those poems and little raps and all. But when I did book Ali, again, his sense of humor really captivated the audience.
Yes.
And then the other thing, again, you're a great speaker, but people ask me this because I've had the pleasure of booking the greatest. I say to the people that are young, thinking about speaking, I say, if you can go out and touch the heart of the audience at the beginning,
Yes.
if you can touch their heart, again, you'll have them in the palm of your hand. So
Very true.
think of a story that when you go out at the beginning, that'll touch your heart. So that's another thing that
Yes.
I really enjoy with the good speakers. They're able to touch the heart of
Very true.
the audiences. Yeah.
And I think, obviously the persona they give is of, some of them are brash, some of them are like, you work with sports personalities, from, basically Tom Brady to Kobe Bryant to others. And sometimes they seem a little brash, but after everything is done, when you really know them from a person, do you see humility as a common thread amongst these celebrities?
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned that because Kobe Bryant, I happen to be a Lakers fan. I was a Lakers fan my entire life because I grew up, in Los Angeles, so the Lakers were my team. Kobe, though, oh my God, he was such a wonderful human being. I mean, we all know what a great basketball player he was. But aside from the times that I booked him, when he was on stage, when you mentioned the humility side, that's such an important characteristic, and I'm glad you brought that up, because people that have humility and can be humble, despite that they've accomplished a lot. I mean, Kobe, we all understand he's one of the greatest of all time. He'll go down in history as one of the greatest. But when they do have that humility, the opposite would be somebody that is really brash.
Yes.
And in your face all the time. But Kobe, as an example, really humble, and that was something that I always really admired a lot. On that same team, we had Magic Johnson, where again, same thing, humble, humility, and Jamal Silk Wilkes on that team, humble and humility. And by the way, we're wonderful lovers of the spirituality.
Yes.
Jamal Silk Wilkes' dad is a pastor.
Wow.
Is a pastor in a church. So he grew up with that spirituality, which I like. But I'm glad you mentioned that humility. To me, that's a really important trait.
Yeah.
None of us really like people that are egotists,
Yeah, in my book, I talk about 5 powers of great leaders, and I say that without humility, everything else fails. All the 4 powers which you gain, are totally useless because human beings, start having some ego, and ego is edging goodness or edging God out. And you don't want that.
I'm with you 100%.
And humility is what keeps you grounded. So I truly believe that these celebrities, though they show a totally different persona, underneath, without humility, they cannot function.
Yes, and in the business area, and you were so nice, you mentioned Steve Jobs at the beginning. To me, he's one of the biggest heroes ever in my life because some of the inventions that he's brought and innovations, it's staggering. It's unbelievable. So when I had the opportunity right here in Las Vegas at the Wynn Resort, they asked me if I could try to book him. And fortunately, Steve Jobs, it was a big international audience. Obviously, he didn't have to do it for the money. He already was a billionaire.
Yeah.
And what he did, he said to me, Bruce, we'll donate my fee to my favorite charity.
Wow.
But he too, and I'll tell you, because he went through struggles at the beginning, of his business.
Absolutely.
I found him to be very showing humility and being humble. He was wonderful to work with. He wasn't brash or egotistical. And after that, I formed a friendship, with him that went beyond that speaking engagement. But I think it was brilliant that you brought up humility, because when we're talking about leaders and leadership, having that wonderful, outstanding quality, it's so important. It really is.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you this is important. What we are talking is so important to the leaders, for the future and for the present. You see today, you've been through, 3 of the 5 industrial revolutions. You've seen it all from the analog age to right now, we're in the age of AI. But leadership today is, broken, I feel. I feel there is a lot of divisiveness, at least in our country. What do you think? Do you have hope for the future, or are you pessimistic?
No, I have always been an optimistic guy myself, and for me, it's always the glass that's half full, not empty. So I'm optimistic, of course. And you're more brilliant in this area and looking at AI than I am, and certainly AI is a challenge. And I'll just give you an example how AI is a challenge. My
Yes.
middle brother, who I love with all my heart, he worked at Sony Movies for 44 years. He was one of the top executives at all of Sony Movies. Just yesterday, he told me, he said, Bruce, some of my best friends at Sony have just been laid off, and all of them were told it was because of AI.
Yeah.
So there's no question that AI does have that impact. But for me, I'm always the optimist, where I'm going to look at things and say, if there's a challenge, how can I overcome the challenge?
Yeah.
Here's Mount Rushmore. How do I get up to
Exactly.
the top of Mount Rushmore instead of
Yes.
giving up and throwing up your hands? There's always ways to be innovative and and face that. So
Perfect.
it is a challenging time. There's no question about it.
Thank you, Bruce. And I'm glad you're optimistic, because I am too. And that's why what I'm trying to do is change the whole, understanding of AI, understanding of leadership, that we really need to change. And that's where, the bell I ring is really truly to wake up people, saying AI is going to change your world. Sundar Pichai, who is the CEO of Google, he says that AI is much more powerful than electricity or fire. Can you imagine
Uh-huh.
that? Can you imagine that? This
That
is
that
this is someone who knows technology is saying, and I truly believe it. It's going to touch every 8.5 billion people. However, we are growing at a rapid pace. So, how many human beings on this planet? AI is going to touch everyone. It is going to flip our world. You've seen nothing. AI is only 2 years old. It's in an infancy, and the IQ is almost the IQ of Einstein. So when
no,
it grows
it's
up,
amazing.
imagine what the world will be.
Yes, but a big compliment to you, and I want to share this because I think it's important. Why are speakers like you so important to the certified meeting planners at the big corporations now? I talk to these certified meeting planners, and they say, Bruce, one of our biggest problems now is retention of our executives. We need to
Yes,
have retention of our executives. So when we book speakers like you help that company retain their employees, because you come in and give them good information and motivate and inspire. So that's why speakers like you are so important. It's a big problem at companies now,
yeah.
client retention and executive retention. It's a big thing. I hear this every day.
No, I think, as I said, it's a big responsibility, and you got to customize it to the needs of the client. You can't just go with your cookie cutter, speech and say, "Here, I delivered and I'm done." That's not the style you should do.
Totally
Customizing is
agree
so
with you.
important.
Yes.
So, thank you, Bruce. This is again another enlightening segment, folks. Please, this is the final segment. This will be completely mind blowing. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Imagine partnering with a firm that fuses lean precision with AI foresight, turning every process into a profit engine built on the foundation of operational excellence. Hi, I am Dr. Adil Dalal, founder and CEO of Pinnacle Process Solutions. For 20 years, we have empowered over 9,500 leaders across 25 industries and 5 continents, and delivered savings from $1 million to $39 million via rapid transformations using AI, digital tools, lean, agile, and Six Sigma technologies. Through our award-winning workshops, lean AI frameworks, and human-centric coaching, we elevate culture, eliminate waste, and ignite sustainable operational excellence. Elevate your people, accelerate your performance. Visit pinnacleprocess.com and reach your pinnacle today. And we're back. Let's continue this powerful conversation. Hey, folks, welcome back to A Superconscious Leader. We're here with Bruce Merrin for the final round of the amazing experiences he's had and his prediction for the future. So please do not miss any shows on Superconscious Leader. You can watch it on Now Media TV, nowmedia.tv, or you can download the iOS or Roku app and you can watch it on the go. So Bruce, welcome back. You've been a truly amazing guest, and thank you for everything you've done for the past half century. Not many people can say they have touched so many lives, and I truly feel blessed that you have, touched my life too.
Well, I feel the same way. Go ahead.
So Bruce, as you have worked with so many different personalities, from presidents to kind of sports personalities, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, where do you think is leadership headed? Is it headed in the right direction? Because it seems like it's all about money, money, money. But is it more than that? Will leadership be at a better stage? What is your thought?
Yeah, well, that is a great question. And by the way, since we're talking about maybe making predictions, you know that Johnny Carson was one of my very first clients. And what was one of his most famous segments ever? The Great Carmack. He would put on that crown on his head.
Yes.
He'd make predictions as the Great Carmack. So I just got reminded about Johnny Carson. Yeah, but in the leadership area, and God bless you, we need leaders like you. I think one of the things that I've seen that makes a good leader is the word empathy.
Yes.
And this wasn't planned. You asked me, and it's just it hit in my head right away. I think that leaders that are empathetic can really help people. We've heard of that situation. Can you stand in the other person's shoes? Reverse roles. Can you stand in their shoes? So I think leaders who are empathetic and have the ability to stand in the other person's shoes, that's one aspect of a good leader. Obviously, there's many, many, many. But I think that's one aspect that goes a long way, because people that have empathy, they care.
Very true.
So I think that really goes a long way. If I'm dealing with somebody and I feel they care about me, that goes a long way, instead of them having their thumb on my head, and feeling the pressure. So I think empathy is an important thing for leadership.
Very true. And that links to EQ, or emotional intelligence. And I really believe that is what separates a good leader, and that they go in. And that's why I think the show, A Superconscious Leader, is trying to go beyond this, right? Because empathy is definitely a very critical thing, but it's a foundation. You have to keep going beyond, because in the age of AI, leadership is going to be changing very rapidly. So that is what the show is about, is really creating that superconscious. And talking about superconscious leaders, one of my absolute favorite is Dr. Waye Dyer. And you mentioned him. You met him, you worked with him. I mean, I've read his Change Your Thoughts, Change the World, Change Your World. It was just amazing to see and to hear him. I'm totally amazed. What have been your experiences with him, and what is that one thing which, I really believed he had that superconscious quality. What made him that superconscious person
no,
that he was?
I agree with you, and I will say, because again, in the business arena, I got to book, you name it, from A to Z. Dr. Dyer would be at the very top, among my all-time favorites. And I'll let you know, his first best-selling book, Your Erroneous
Yes,
Zone.
I'm aware of that. Yes.
And for your viewers, that book sold over 100 million
Yes.
copies. 100 million copies. So having booked him for over 50 times and been out there in the audience so many times, again, the way that Dr. Dyer was able to connect, with the audience and share his vision. Now, vision, now there's, and again, it wasn't pre-planned, but when I think of Dr. Dyer, he had great vision. So when he came out to the audience, he always shared wonderful ideas. You know, he was great with these little sayings that they put up on the screen and they would stick. So with Dr. Dyer, I feel he really had great vision. We're talking about the future. He always had great vision for the future. With your erroneous zones, imagine writing a book that sold that many copies alone. He had to reach a lot of people to sell a book for 100 million copies. That really goes a long, long ways, you know. And I will say this as well, for him and having that vision, in all the years, booking all the biggest name speakers in the motivational, inspirational area, I never ever saw anybody who, after he was done with his talk, sold so many books. The people,
Yes.
they wanted to buy his products because of his vision. So vision is one thing with him that, for me, really, really stands out. I mean, he was brilliant. I've only used that word a couple of times, genius. I use it for Johnny Carson and Robin. Yeah. He was a real genius in this area. While there were many very good ones, I'd say he was the biggest genius in this area.
Yeah.
And some of his creativity and his innovativeness, like nobody that I've ever seen. So he's definitely up there at the top.
Absolutely. And I think I'm reminded of your tagline when you say, profitability starts with PR. And this gentleman, was so famous and so successful. And I remember a story where he handed the keys to his office and to everything, including everything in the office, to I think his secretary or someone, and he walked away from it all. So, yeah, and he went to Hawaii and he started this new thing. People's lives completely change, and sometimes profitability is one thing, but people who are truly successful, they don't measure it by money. They measure it in a totally different way.
Oh, no, you're right. And you just sparked another thing with me. Spencer Johnson is, again, one of the best authors that I've ever had. The first big book that he had was The 1 Minute Manager.
Right.
To this day, The 1 Minute Manager, one of the biggest selling business books of all time, huge. And then he wrote Who Moved My Cheese, which, again, big bestseller. But where you triggered to me, I used to visit him every month. He lived in La Jolla, which is a beautiful place right on the ocean. But many years after that, he moved to Maui, and he spent a long part of his life in Maui because for him, he'd achieved all that he wanted in the money area, but beyond money, Maui just had this wonderful beauty and grace, and so that's why he went to Maui. Yeah. So is money an end-all thing? I don't think so at all. And I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of people that have made a lot of money, but it goes way beyond the money.
Absolutely.
It goes back to heart. We were talking about heart at the beginning of your show. If you really have heart, it goes way beyond how much is in your bank account.
Totally agree with you. That is the bank account, I feel, is how many lives you touch and what do you do, and that's why I talk about legacy. My books, I've written 2 books on legacy-driven life because this is important to us, right? And
I agree. And I will add spiritual bank account.
Yes.
Your spiritual account, that goes way beyond the money bank account to me, way beyond.
And that is what superconscious leadership is going beyond that ordinary. What is the difference between ordinary and extraordinary? It is that extra. And that extra is the superconscious. Leaders will need that as we go along. So
I agree. And by the way, big compliment to you when you mentioned earlier that you shared the stage with Deepak Chopra. I mean, that's a wonderful accomplishment because, again, he is considered, one of the best of all time. So that really deserves accolades, the fact that you were able to share the stage. And what did you do? You impacted the audience,
I actually opened the conference and he closed the conference. So it was a great experience. And the other experience was that the grandson of Napoleon Hill was in the front row. He became a friend of mine. He's a great person. So having those experiences, are tremendously special and you never forget those.
And the fact that you mentioned that, again, the blessings that I've had early in my career, I booked Bill Proctor a lot.
Okay.
And Proctor, oh my God, Napoleon Hill, so many of these early
Yes.
speakers, Napoleon Hill was a big, guide to them. So
Yes.
people
Absolutely.
like Bob Proctor,
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you. And Bruce, you know, over the years, you worked with so many great personalities. What is a regret? Who have you missed where you thought, I really need to work with him
I'm
or her?
sorry, I just missed that. Who would I like to work with was the question?
Who would you really have liked to work with, and you didn't get a chance to do that? Is there anyone you
Boy,
can think of?
that's a fascinating question, and I'm just trying to think right now because I've been so lucky to work
Exactly.
with
But who
so
slipped through
many.
your fingers?
Yeah, who would be the person that I have not? Um, I am a big sports fan,
Mhm.
so I'm trying to think in the sports area because again, I've worked with,
You,
with so many. But uh, you got me. I'm trying to think who would be somebody. Gandhi. How about
oh,
Gandhi?
okay. Yeah.
With
That,
that, I mean, when I think
very
about
true.
people that have really, affected me because I meditate every night, he'd be, he's one that come to my mind.
Wow, that is, yeah, that is profound because interaction with him would be such a, memorable, and again, he really he's known as the father of the nation for a reason, right? He truly changed
Right.
the direction of India,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so thank you. That is, sorry to throw
The
you off
only
on.
other one, and you just mentioned that, would be the
Yeah.
Pope. The Pope.
Yes,
Because
yes,
I am a very spiritual
yeah,
person, and to be able to sit down with the Pope, that would be
yeah.
an
It will
amazing, an
come, Bruce.
amazing thing.
You have great genes. I think you have 20, 30 years more to go at least. So you're back in the line.
Yes, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I've been blessed with good health.
Yeah.
Yes,
So, Bruce, I think final question. We will
yes.
leave it to what is the legacy you want to be remembered for? What will be your legacy?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And it goes back to the handle that I got years ago, thanks to Dr. Dyer, and that would be impact lives. I would like people to think long after that I have gone that I had the gift to impact the lives of all the people around me. And how was that accomplished? Booking speakers like you. Because when you go out in front of world audiences, you impact the lives of all the people. So the gift that I have is booking people like you who can impact lives. So that's what I'd like to be known. And I know my mom would be proud that I'm saying that. I'd like to be known for the fact that I was able to impact the lives, not only me personally, but all the clients that I've been able to book all over the globe that impacted the lives of people all around the world. Whether it was Michael Landon or Johnny Carson, you name it, Robin Williams, all of those people impacted lives. So, and you mentioned Richard Branson. One of the biggest treasures here in Vegas was booking Richard Branson right here in Las Vegas at the
Wow.
Aria. Yeah, and he's impacted lives too, you know?
And Bruce, I think you truly live your profession. This is not a profession for you. This is your life, and you live it so well, and you've done amazing, amazing job, and just keep going, my friend. We need you. We need people like you who really believe in humanity, who believe in, positivity, humility, empathy. I think that is you. It defines Bruce Merrin. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
So
And I love
I'm
your passion and your commitment.
thank
You
you,
have tremendous passion and it shows. So
thank you.
thank you. I really appreciate that a lot.
And Bruce, I'm going to end with namaste. Do you know the
Yes.
meaning of namaste?
No, please tell me. I want to know.
This
But
is one
I
of the
think of
best
when people do
definitions
yoga.
of
Go ahead.
namaste,
Go
and
ahead.
this came from a pastor. I heard him say this: the divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. That's the true meaning of namaste.
Ah,
So I end with a namaste to you. The divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. Thank you,
I
Bruce. Appreciate
appreciate
it.
that. No,
Thank you so
I
much.
so appreciate that. And God bless you for impacting lives every day. That's a gift. Not
Thank
many
you.
people can say that.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you. Likewise. Thank you, folks. Thank you for joining us on a Superconscious Leader, a mind-blowing show. And I'm pretty sure you'll be watching this show multiple times on rerun. So please do not miss this, and watch us again on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Central. And if you miss the show, you can always catch it on Now Media TV app on iOS or Android, or you can download any app on Roku or on Spotify and other places. So thank you very much. Goodbye. See you next week.